Hello and welcome to English Talk, the podcast for people who feel insecure speaking English as a non-native at work. Join me and my guests as we chat about the challenges of speaking up in English when you're not only a native speaker, but also a bit of an introvert. Is a psychological counsellor. She describes her calling as helping other adults understand and manage their emotions so they can be in control of their thoughts and ultimately their behaviour. Sailo, it's lovely to have you here and thank you very much for joining me.
I am so excited to be here. Thank you for inviting me.
Now, you have very interesting work. You say you are sensitive yourself, and you tend to attract sensitive people.
Yes.
And help them with counselling, overcoming trauma and such like.
Yes, I do. What I notice is that unless it's referral, it's usually people who are introverted and sensitive who tend to come my way, and some of them are very uncomfortable with the idea of being sensitive.
Really?
Yes, many times, yes. I have heard people blatantly, say, "No, I'm not sensitive."
Okay.
Yeah, and that's okay because I guess the different cultures have different idea of what sensitive is, and a lot of the time people perceive it as weak.
Yeah.
We don't need to force it on them to believe that they are sensitive.
I think you're spot on. I think that society generally, wider society, doesn't know what HSP, highly sensitive people are. They don't know what the label means. And I think the term conjures up images of people are very fragile, as you said, very nervous, fragile, break down in tears at the slightest thing. And I think although a sensitive person could do all of that, it doesn't mean that's how all of us are all of the time.
Very much. I remember being called lazy because I needed more rest than everyone else, And I remember being called shy and kind of there's a word called nep, which is not useless, but more of like weak, a bit weak. Yeah. I remember being called all those things and I believed it, because I myself didn't know there is such a thing called HSP.
Yeah.
So and the what I see now itself in a very educated world itself is like half of the people, I won't even say half, maybe 80% of the people, 90% of the people around me don't even know what is HSP, even now.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And didn't I read a statistic somewhere that 20% of the population are sensitive?
Yes, 20% of human and animals.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which would sort of fit, really, wouldn't it? Because if you say your rough calculation, about 90% of people don't know what HSP is, which I would also agree with. That sort of fits with 20% of us are, and 10% don't realise we are, or don't realise it's a thing.
Yeah, or deny that they are sensitive, and so they push on,
Yeah. That's fascinating.
Yeah, and when you talk about it, people tend to be very uncomfortable. I don't know why. I find that people tend to be uncomfortable, even those who are not necessarily sensitive, instead of being curious.
That's interesting.
Yeah, I find that it could be just my experience. Maybe you can share yours, but I find that they are uncomfortable. Maybe sometimes I feel like, are they thinking we are making this as an excuse?
Okay.
Yeah, so I have a lot of question on that as well. But I press on. I talk about it loudly all the time.
Yes.
Even if it makes me uncomfortable sometimes.
Do you know, I wonder when you mention that about people being uncomfortable talking to us if they know that we're sensitive. And the thought that came to mind is, do they think we're suddenly going to break down?
I don't know, maybe.
Do they not want to ask questions in case they offend us because we're sensitive and they don't know what that means?
Could be. Some I know are very nice, even though they don't ask questions, they go back and Google it.
Yeah.
The next time we talk about it, they're more educated on it, you know. Um, some just, I don't know, some just tune out. Yeah,
Yeah.
could be. And a lot of time, because I'm not shy, I like socializing. Yeah. It's hard to grasp between what they possibly think what HSP is and what I am. Right. And so it's they can't, what do you call that? They can't marry these two together. And so they just tune out. Yeah.
Yeah. And another thing came to mind when you're saying that is this knowledge, this resistance in some cases to talk about it and not understanding what it is.
Hmm.
I had a conversation with a young lady who's also sensitive.
Hmm.
I think this is something that occurs to me as well, is if I tell you, whoever you are,
Hmm.
having a conversation with, how what it's like for me to be sensitive, the different impressions I get during
Hmm.
the day as I'm interacting with people, will you think I'm crazy? I've got a feeling the lady I talked to mentioned the word crazy.
Hmm.
Got a feeling there's this judgment. It's like
Hmm.
this is nobody I know other people aren't aware of this. You might
Hmm.
think I'm crazy if I start
Hmm.
talking about it.
Hmm.
Because
Possibly. Yeah.
we live in quite a scientific world. There's a lot of people out there who like science and like things backed with fact. Uh,
Hmm.
I well, I know there's things we can't really, but I don't think science has caught up with what we can actually prove, what we can actually do.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. And some people are creeped out by what you say. For example, if you see their energy and you ask them questions that really relate to what they're going through,
Yeah.
they get creeped out, especially with me, especially because they know I'm psychologist, and then they think that it's all the psychology stuff, right? But
Mhm.
it's a lot of the time not.
Yeah.
Or sometimes it's a combination, but then they get creeped out, and so you don't want to creep out the people you socialize with. Yeah.
That's true. So you mentioned that you're also a psychologist and you offer counselling.
Hmm.
So that's curious. So what came, I think I know the answer, but what came first, the sensitivity or the interest in psychology, or was it a natural progression?
I I think that I don't know. I mean, my interest in psychology started when I was, I think, 13. Yeah, but I didn't think of it in terms of a profession.
Okay.
And I guess my interest in psychology comes first, probably because we think too deeply and we want to understand why. And psychology is the one thing that kind of explains it, right? I wanted to understand why my life, why this life, why they behave, why they react, why am I hurt so much, why, you know?
Yeah.
And the answers are seems to be more possible with psychology, right?
Hmm.
And so yeah, I sway towards that.
Hmm.
But I did not start off professionally as a psychologist. I was working in corporates, you know, like doing IT-ish work. Yeah. My last job, I was in project management.
Hmm.
And I did not like the cycle of the corporate world where
Yeah.
you learn, and then, okay, you're done learning. So you have to figure out what next. And then you go there, you figure it out, you do the learning, you know.
Yeah.
It is a very boring cycle for me, I would say. It's boring and also very, very stressful because it's humans and lights and too cold. The office is always too cold for women,
Sure.
you know. And so it's first of all, the interest is not there, and to add to all of this stimuli, right?
Yes.
It was, I was burnt out and not at all interested. But with psychology, what I do is like, if two people comes for anxiety,
Mm-hmm.
their origin story is never the same.
Mm-hmm, of course.
Their path to healing is never the same. So it's always, very interesting. And I love
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. I can see how they're worlds apart, aren't they? Data analysis, which, as you say, it seems very cold and clinical and analytical and not warm and feeling. I mean, these are poles apart for the warmth and feeling, as I see psychology and understanding, seems to
Hmm.
be very different from the data and machines.
Yes, very much. But, well, not so much of data. For me, it was more of creating. So, like websites and content and stuff like that for a large farm. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a space for creativity in it. But then once you learn how to create something, it ends there as well. Does that
Okay.
make sense? Like
Yeah.
it's so limited, and so you get bored.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I love this never-ending learning journey somehow.
Mm-hmm.
And I love the fact that you do see results a
Yes.
lot more. Yeah.
Yes, that's true. And making a difference in people's lives.
Yes.
Yeah. See the
I
end
hope
result.
I am every day. Yeah. I hope I am every day doing that. Um, Sometimes, you know what, I think the highly sensitive in me feels bad to even say, I'm making a difference in other people's life.
Why does it feel bad about saying that?
Well, or maybe it's not necessarily the sensitive, but the part of me that grows up in a culture that says, don't be proud.
Oh,
Yeah. And everything is, if you talk about yourself, it's pride. Yeah.
okay,
So
right.
maybe it comes from that. But yeah, but I'm learning. Yeah. I'm learning to understand what is pride and what is not.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So you're also, as we said, highly sensitive yourself. I'm
Yes.
curious to understand your discovery of that.
Hmm. When you mean discovery, like how I know that this is, or I will just talk about both, maybe briefly. Yeah. I knew I was different from a very young age, right? I'm the youngest of five. Yeah. My siblings are all very social. I was never comfortable. I was never comfortable in conversation that just talks about the daily lives of the culture, or
Mm-hmm.
like I say, I want to talk about the whys and the hows of things, right?
Deeper stuff.
Yeah, deeper stuff. And so I know I was always different. And also I come from a society which is very communal. And because it's a very Christian community, you have a lot of activity that you need to participate in. And I was really uncomfortable with that. Yeah. The loudness of it, the having to push yourself way beyond your forget comfort zone, but the what your psyche is,
Mm-hmm.
willing to. Some days I come home crying. Yeah.
Right.
So I know I was very different, but again, like I said, I was always told I was too shy. I was weak. Like socially weak. I was told I was lazy because I needed to sleep a lot more, or that I get really exhausted.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And so, in trying to become more in tune with what was happening in the society, I pushed myself. And I think eventually I end up having a developing social anxiety,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, at the age of 14. And then, yes, I continue with my life. I have, on the other hand, in all of this, I have a great mother. Yeah. And well, I have great parents. My mother always understand my feelings and hold them. She never judged me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Even if she calls me shy, it is never with a judgment of less. It's just acceptance that she's shy. Right. And on the other hand, my dad is the kind of person who says you have to push yourself out of your comfort zone. If you don't do it, how will you get out of this? So it pushed me and pushed me as well. So even though it was painful, but I think that got me through into surviving this world, not thriving, but surviving. Yeah. And I think at the age of 29, I healed from the social anxiety,
Mm-hmm.
right? And right at the first week of my training to be a counselor, psychological counselor, right? And then at the end of the first year, when I started my internship, I was dealing with a client, and I felt like I was very ill-equipped. So I went looking for a book in the library, and I found the highly sensitive person, and I thought, oh, this will help my clients, And I read it, and I'm like, oh, this is all me. Everything here is me. And that's when this huge aha, like there's this huge, for me, it was beautiful moment of understanding that this is me. I am not weird. I am not different in the way people say I was different.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just different in the way that I was made to be this way.
Yeah.
And so that started my journey of self acceptance and actually thriving into my own world. Yeah.
So that's a lovely story. And there's a lot of parallels I can see between what
Mm,
you've said and what I've also experienced. And I think it's interesting with people I've spoken to about being highly sensitive. And I
mm,
think we all can see from this point in our lives, we can look back to our early
mm,
years and say, that's why. That's why
mhm,
I behave like that. That's what was happening when I was interacting. That's what I was picking up. But
mm,
we get these labels like shy or
mm,
whatever, or lazy or weak, or
mm,
also this thing about your father pushing you and this sort of not to be afraid, not to be
mm,
anxious. I'm I do that to myself. Um,
mm,
and I don't know where that comes from. I think it's a good thing. It can push us
mm,
to do things in our
mm,
lives.
mm, mm,
I think we sometimes need to know, well, I need to know
mm.
where it's really essential and where not.
Yes, very true. Yeah.
And I think this can also relate to, or my clients can also relate to this, because as a sensitive person, and often sensitive people are often introvert as well.
Mm,
For them, when they have a situation like speaking up
mm,
at work, it
mm,
seems like such a huge thing.
mm,
Going to a networking event, to a conference, presenting,
mm,
it's like a world away from where they are now.
mm,
And I think they don't always make the connection that it doesn't have to be all of that. You don't have to be everything. You can push yourself in small steps to
mm,
display some of these traits for 10 minutes,
mm, mm,
an hour, a day,
mm,
and then retreat to the safety of who you really are. And that
mm,
isn't deception, that isn't not being you, it's just knowing
mm,
how to thrive,
mm,
to
mm,
survive, and give back to society your knowledge. That if
mm,
you're just sensitive, you just keep to yourself.
mm. Yeah. Yeah. What I do these days is like I go all out, and then I come back and be absolutely okay just sleeping the next day, you know. And I circle my profession around that as well in such a way that I have that space to sleep and just, and even if I can't sleep, sometimes it's just soothing to watch some TV series that you enjoy, even if
Yeah,
you don't truly focus on it, right? There's a sense of me time, right?
yeah,
So I love that, yeah.
yeah. I would
Yeah.
certainly struggle in a 9 to 5 job. I've never, well, only when I worked in hospitals when I was training for 3 years and then 18 months actually working. Uh,
Hmm.
the rest of my life, so half my life, I've been
Hmm.
freelance. And I have
Hmm.
the ability to, yes, I get busy days and quiet days, but being able to
Hmm.
decide, okay, I'm not in an office. I can
Hmm.
have some quiet and just put my head down for half an hour or
Hmm.
block the afternoon. and
Hmm.
just and then work again in the evening or whatever works. But having
Hmm.
that space.
Yeah. You know what about 9 to 5 job? If I look back, right? Um, for a highly sensitive, it would be really hard to find a date if they're single, right? Because it's like 9 to 5, so stressful. You come home, you just want to sleep. And I remember my weekends are like surrounded for sleep, apart from the house chores that you need to do. And
Yeah.
then after that, you just sleep, you just want to rest. And I remember my friend asked me, how will people know you exist if you ever want to get married? And, and it didn't matter because I was so tired. I just
Yeah.
need to get back to have the energy for the next one week.
That's very true. It's you're not just physical energy, but your social battery. It's like
Hmm.
if you use up all your social battery at work on a 9 to 5 job, how do you go out and meet people and have
Exactly.
enjoy your friends if you're all exhausted from?
I can only imagine for people in Germany because from what I've heard from people I know, people are not social at their workplace, right? At least when I was working, you can meet nice guys at the workplace that you can date, yeah. But here, if you don't interact in that way, you go there and you meet, and everything is like kind of stone cold, kind of,
Yeah,
each other, and then you're so tired, you come home and you just sleep. How do you meet people?
I don't
Right.
know. But I think that whole area has completely changed nowadays anyway. Um,
Yes, with
Online
what is
dating and all of
yes, yes.
it with all these swiping. Yeah, that's changed, which maybe is easier for introverts
Yeah.
than going out into busy bars.
Hmm. Thank you for indulging me in this specific topic. Yeah.
Yeah, which makes me think that the pandemic, I think this
Hmm.
is quite a good time. Well, I don't think it was easy for anyone.
Hmm.
Just from the introvert, when I say good time, I'm talking about the introverts who didn't actually find it easy to be in an office with lots
Hmm.
of people. The
Hmm.
ability to be at home and work from home and not have to go into a busy
Hmm.
office, probably positive. There's
Hmm.
always negative sides of being isolated and the rest, but
Hmm.
that happened, and now a lot of people still can, myself
Hmm.
included, work from home.
Hmm.
That would never have happened if we hadn't had the pandemic.
That's true. However, like you said, the downside I feel is it was so easy to stay in that comfort zone. You know, like you've been forced for so long to be out there to do all of that stuff, and then now, like for 2 full years, maybe 2.5, you're like at home, and finally you're like, oh my god, I can actually do this. This is awesome. And why do I ever have to go out again? But then the personal social health decline in that, So
Yeah.
every time a person goes out, there's anxiety, right?
Yes.
That is also harmful. Yeah.
Yeah. Is that something you see in your clients? You mentioned, I think on your website it mentioned social anxiety as a type of person you help.
I do, yes. And
Yeah.
and a lot of the time, what I notice this also is this, okay? Many people think that shyness is just shyness, but it's a form of anxiety, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah. And so they don't want to, and since they do function, they're very functional anxious, right? They will not normally a lot of the time accept that this is social anxiety.
Mhm.
So you don't label it, you just work with the anxiety. Yeah.
Yeah, this is it's a good point actually. These high functioning, there's a title for it, high functioning social anxiety or something.
Hmm. I would say because there are some people whose anxiety is so bad that um, it can go to the extent of agoraphobia,
Mhm.
but that's quite extreme. But also, like when I had social anxiety in the beginning, yeah, um, I won't say I was high functioning. I was just functioning because it was required of me.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if I could avoid it, I would have stayed at home.
Yeah.
You know. my parents, like, you go need to buy onion, go need to do some grocery shopping, you force it out of that, and I had to go. But even when I was walking the street, it was like so much anxiety in it, right? So even though I was functioning, it was, yeah, a lot. Yeah. So when I say high functioning, a lot of the time, some of them, they don't acknowledge that the shyness is anxiety. Yeah. A lot of the time they drink alcohol, so it's masked,
Okay.
right?
Yeah.
So that's why we call it where we come from, we call it liquid courage.
Yes,
Alcohol is liquid courage, right?
it
And
is.
so you have a few drinks, and then your thoughts are like unlocked, and your thoughts and your tongue match, and you just speak whatever you want and feels free.
Hmm.
And so you come home and you just like live a normal life, thinking that you're a social being as well.
Yeah. I think this, so it's interesting. We're distinguishing between high functioning social anxiety
Mm,
and just functioning and just total social
mm,
anxiety.
mm,
And I think in some ways, the high functioning social anxiety people,
mm.
I think in some ways, they have it more difficult because I think they're less likely to get help. It's almost as
Yeah,
if they're
yeah.
more fearful because they don't want it known. I think there's
Mm,
a sense of shame. It's like, God, I
mm,
can't tell anyone, I can't ask for help because then everybody will know. And then
mm,
how will they look at me?
mm. Yes. And some people hide behind introversion.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm an introvert, so blah,
Because
blah,
that's
blah.
acceptable.
Yeah, exactly. Yes.
Yeah.
Because the word introversion, extroversion, ambivert, it's kicked around everywhere. It's
Yeah.
it's like normal conversation words nowadays,
Hmm.
right? It's very acceptable.
Yeah.
But I always tell people, you know what, you can be an introvert. You don't need to be shy at all. And you can be an introvert. It doesn't have to come with anxiety.
Hmm. Exactly. So would you say that's one of the first steps that you help your clients with is understanding that they do actually have anxiety?
The first step is always demystifying, or the word, what does introversion means.
Hmm.
A lot of the time they come with the idea that it's shyness, it's being a bit recluse or
Hmm.
whatever, like, oh, sitting in the corner in a party, you know,
Hmm.
being uncomfortable with humans and blah, blah, blah. But it's not, it's about the energy, the amount of energy, and where do you get your energy from, and how you lose your energy.
Yeah.
Right. I remember watching this video clip where someone explained it so well, and I end up using it everywhere. It's like an introvert goes out to the world with a piggy bank full of coins,
Hmm.
and every time they interact, they give out their coins.
Hmm.
Whereas an extrovert goes out with their piggy bank empty, and
Yes.
every time they interact with someone, their piggy bank is filled with coins, right?
Yeah.
And I thought that was really beautiful. But it is also so much more than that, because we tend to, as introverts, we tend to think more, analyze more, right? We calculate a whole lot of things in our head, right?
Yes.
And this is where the anxiety tend to kind of create a nest, right?
Hmm.
So this is where you want to explain that, the anxiety is through this, but you don't have to calculate and analyze and think with anxiety.
That's a very good point, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, so much.
And that's interesting that you clarify or help to let them see what an introvert is and sort of understand their behavior.
Hmm.
Because I have a friend who's a complete extrovert.
Hmm.
It's really fascinating talking to her about how I think we had a discussion about walking down the street
Hmm.
and what's going on in her mind. I think there's a group of us of introverts, it's a mixed group. So what's going on in her mind as an extrovert as
Hmm.
opposed to what's going on in the mind of an
Hmm.
introvert. The introvert will walk down the street and say, okay, where am I? What's the weather doing? What's that over there? Is that a tree? Is that an animal behind the tree? How many people are there? What are the people doing? Which direction are they coming? How many cars? Are they happy people? Are they sad people? And we're processing the whole environment. If we're sensitive, we're then walking through their energies as well and picking up their conversations and their moods as they go past us. The extrovert is just thinking of herself, not in a selfish way, but thinking, okay, where am I going? What am I going to do when I get there? How am I going to get there? So it's like very more focused. As I say, not at all selfish, just focus. It's just internal. And then they meet somebody, and that, as you say, that person gives them something. They see somebody, and they get on that. Totally different.
Yes, that's very interesting. Yeah.
So if you're an introvert, or maybe if you're an extrovert, and she had absolutely no idea. I had no idea what was in her head. And when we shared differences, it was blowing. I think, well, some of these people how can an extrovert understand what it's like to be an introvert or highly sensitive? Absolutely no idea how much stuff we're processing.
Very much. And the downfall of an introvert in that, let's say the walking down the street to go somewhere, the downfall often is in the, okay, when I reach there, what will I talk about?
Yes.
What will I contribute in the conversation?
Yes.
How should I be? How will I greet them? You know?
Exactly.
We get so caught up in the tiny, tiny stuff of things that it becomes like, oh my God, what if I offend them? What if I say the wrong stuff? And that's when the anxiety comes in like a butterfly and just sit there and stay.
Yes, exactly. And I think this is a big reason why what stops people is introverts and highly sensitive people tend to be perfectionists and tend to overthink. It's just more comfortable having the whole thing mapped out. So as you say, we know that how I'm going to get there, I'm processing everything on my way. And then before I even leave, I want to know how I'm getting there, what it looks like, how long it's going to last, who I'm going to see, what I'm going to say, how I'm going to leave as well. I know people who haven't attended things because they don't know how to leave. And when you get to that stage, you really are trying to solve the final problems of before you even got there.
Exactly. Yeah. And this is one of the reasons why I find that introverts need to work a little bit more harder on their self-esteem than an extrovert. Why? Because, for example, in all of these thoughts, even introvert with a high self-esteem will always be able to say, okay, whatever comes, I will deal with it.
Exactly.
I have the ability to deal with it. Right? And that kind of stopped the extra overthinking.
Yes.
But if you don't have this high self-esteem, or if your self-esteem is low, then you keep questioning everything that you're going to do.
Yeah.
The anxiety just multiply.
Yeah. I think it's a matter of reminding ourselves that we are adults and mature adults who have abilities. And when we get there, we will find a way to say, so sorry, I've got to leave now. Or just turn around and walk out. It's fascinating. We have to remind ourselves.
Yes. I remember I always used my husband. I'll be like, you know what, if someone has too long, and as a highly sensitive, you tend to ask the right question that makes people want to stay because of that empathy that you have, right? And I know that this is going to happen. And so I would tell my husband, if I go to the toilet in between a conversation, if I excuse myself to go to the toilet in between a conversation, it means I'm done. You know, please, stop the conversation so we can move on. But my husband's also an introvert. So I would come back and I would still see him having the conversation. So it was not a good trick.
Yeah.
But actually, yes, I had to learn how to say, you know what, it's really good to see you and hear about your story. I hope everything goes well for you. And they often get the idea that, oh,
Yeah.
this conversation is closing. Yeah. Because it's less harsh for me to say,
Yeah.
I've got to go. Right. For me, that is like still a little harsh. So
Yeah.
I have to figure out my own way. So it's really important to figure out our own ways. Yeah.
Exactly. Because I think you've hit the nail on the head there, because from the extrovert people that I know,
Hmm.
they're not offended.
Hmm.
It's our, and I think as sensitive people, we're
Hmm.
considering their reaction. And
Yes.
truth is, they're not going to be offended if
Hmm.
we say, look, I just got to go.
Hmm.
Offense. But they don't even think, they don't double think it, because we overthink before
Hmm.
and during and for a week afterwards. Oh, what did I say? How did I say it? What did they think? How did they look? What? Because we do that, we presume everybody else is going to, and we're going to overanalyze what our actions, and we don't want to offend.
Yes, we analyze. Oh, maybe they don't like my conversation, and that's why they leave. Right? Maybe I offend them. Maybe
Mhm.
whatever I said was not the right thing, or maybe they don't like me. And so we, like you said, we assume other people do exactly the same thing.
Yeah,
So yeah, who likes not being liked, right?
of course.
But
Yeah.
finding your own sentence is very important. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a very good tip, actually, finding what works for you, because taking somebody else's sentence is still going to make you uncomfortable. If you're not comfortable saying it, you're not going to use it.
Exactly. Or you hurt yourself, right? Like,
Yeah.
oh, like I stabbed this person, but I'm the one actually being stabbed, kind
Yeah.
of like feeling. Yeah.
Thinking about this idea of finding your right sentence, that makes it even more difficult for non-native speakers. So
So
we're
much.
both, I presume you're also a non-native German speaker. We're both in Germany.
Yeah.
So that sort of fine-tuning, if on the occasions I am social, networking, whatever, in German, finding that right phrase in
Hmm.
German to have the
Hmm.
same feeling to what I want to give in English.
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
That's just another layer of complexity, isn't it?
Well, it's another it's another calculation going on in your head
Yeah,
apart from all the other calculation you have, and it's so exhausting,
yeah,
right?
yeah. Which is another reason why I like to work with non-native
Hmm.
introverts, highly sensitives, because it's just another layer of complexity and anxiety. Not only
Hmm.
I got to be social
Hmm. Hmm.
as an introvert and a sensitive, but I've also got to do it in a language
Hmm.
I'm not native in.
Hmm. Let me ask you this though. Um, do you find that Germany, on one hand, I do find it, or maybe it's just I don't know enough people. Um, it feels safe to be an introvert and a highly sensitive here.
Introvert, I'd probably say yes. I would agree with introvert because and hopefully I'm not offending anyone here, but people aren't, my experience,
Hmm.
people tend to keep themselves to themselves.
Yes.
Germany, it's not a sort of place, it's not like the UK where just about everybody will talk to you and you can have conversations in the supermarket, on the street. Everyone's saying hello. Okay, exaggeration, but
Hmm.
Germany is not particularly social. Now,
Yes.
to clarify, if ever I need help, if I get lost in a city, somebody's
Hmm.
always willing, a German
Hmm.
person, to help me and normally help me in English. So, but the general day-to-day living in a small village, It
mm,
takes a long time before people will actually say hello to you.
mm, mm,
So for the introvert, that's probably works quite well. People don't look you in the eye. They don't
mm,
say hello unless you're walking up in the mountains. Have you
mm.
noticed if you go walking in the mountains, every single person will say hello to you,
Oh,
but
no.
not if you're walking down the street.
Oh no, it's a. I live in a small town which is super friendly. So you walk out, you see someone, you always say hello. It is very
Really?
different.
Okay. Maybe
It's
it's a
one of
Munich thing.
it's a very lovely place here, and then it adds to the fact that when you have a dog, then everybody loves
Yes.
you. Your dog, yeah.
But have you noticed that they'll say hello to your dog and not to you? Or is it just me?
Actually, no, they're. I'm trying to avoid dog owners, so I send my husband a lot of that.
Maybe I need to come and live in your village.
Sure, I have a hard time leaving. My husband wanted to leave, and we were looking for inside Heidelberg. And but then it's so friendly, and it's older people who no longer give a F.
Yeah.
And so they're just friendly and really nice. Yeah,
Yeah.
I feel safe here in Sandhausen much more than I feel in Heidelberg. Yeah,
Okay. So maybe it's
and
also a city thing.
maybe, maybe yes. Because when I say, do you think it feels safer? Even Heidelberg compared to where I used to live, which is a big city, right? The need to go with the heartbeat of the city
Hmm.
itself is exhausting for an
Yes.
introvert, right?
Yes.
So and because the society is so mm, what do maybe it's the communal society where yeah, it could be that, or I don't know. Like you said, it could be because people keep to themselves,
Yeah.
so there's no fear of being judged to keep to yourself. Yeah.
Yes. You see, when you said about introverts and highly sensitive, I would agree with introvert because I think it's very easy to be ignored, to ignore
Mm,
everyone. A lot of people, well, around Munich, they're not going to
mm,
look you in the eye. You might as
mm,
well be visible,
mm,
particularly if you are like myself. I happen to be average height,
mm,
white,
mm,
middle-aged, wrinkly,
mm,
you know, middle-aged
mm,
woman. It's not causing any
mm,
attention or anything. I know culturally and racially it's completely different
mm,
depending on your ancestry.
mm,
But the highly sensitive thing I wanted to mention because if there's one thing I would even criticize,
mm.
is that the amount of times that I get criticized by Germans.
Oh
And I think
yes,
as a
that I
highly
agree.
sensitive person, that is tough.
And the number of times you are shouted for
Exactly my
no
point.
apparent reason.
From
Yes.
across the street.
That part is really crazy, especially at the bureaucratic work that you have to do as an immigrant,
Yes.
right? And then they shout at you, they tell you different stuff, and then you ask them question and they get angry for asking questions. That part I totally agree. Yeah.
Now we have different experiences here because, in actual fact, our Gemeinde,
Hmm.
because we're actually in Starnberg, is actually very friendly. But I know what it's like in Munich.
Hmm.
But
Hmm.
universally, anything when I go outside, the amount of times I've been shouted at for cycling in the wrong place, walking in the wrong place, stopping in the wrong place, even if I'm on my foot,
Hmm.
uh,
Hmm.
anything, recycling something at the wrong
Hmm.
time,
Hmm.
or I don't know, they do like to tell you when you're doing something wrong. It's like a national sport.
Yeah. um, the other day, I watched an interview where a lady said, I don't know, maybe they don't have other hobbies. So, yes, in that regard, I completely agree with you. The part where I feel like safer being a highly sensitive is also tied to the um, you're not expected to participate all the time, like it is the case where I come from, right? So it's okay to like there if you get offended for something you are treated as someone with your skin is too thin.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Here, you get offended. Yeah, okay, nobody cares.
Okay.
But because nobody cares, um, both ways it works. I mean, maybe not both ways. Nobody cares, so that person is probably not going to apologize,
Yeah.
but they're also not going to make you feel small about you being offended.
That's a very good point.
So that part is where I feel safe, not the shouting. I agree with you on that. The shouting and scolding and stuff, it's
Mm.
yeah, it's horrible for a highly sensitive, that part.
Yeah. So what's interesting coming out of this conversation is that introversion, a lot of it comes from anxiety, and the highly sensitive adds to it. Yet, when we look at traits of average people who we don't know what they are, and we compare with extroverts, they're not actually bothered. So we're basically in the way of ourselves because we're assessing the whole world, as it were. I'm presuming everybody's going to be upset with us and we don't want to offend. And if we could just turn that down a bit and not worry and just say, they're not going to worry about it, then actually extroverts don't care. They don't care if we make a mistake. They don't care if we're suddenly leave, if we're a bit abrupt. They just see somebody leaving. So maybe that's one answer to help balance an introvert or a sensitive person's mind is probably people care less about it or are less offended is probably a better word than you mentioned.
And to add to that is more of like working towards saying, even if they care, if the things that I've done is not, this is a very important point, harming other people, things and things, other people, animals and things, that harming stuff is not on the way and I'm just doing what I do. And if someone's offended, it's none of my business.
Okay.
I don't need to receive it. I don't need to receive it into me, That has been really helpful for me. Because like when you are in corporate, right? For example, I bet you work a lot with people in corporate, right? You share your opinion, and some people you tend to see as even a lot of introverts, we see body language and we react based on that as well, right? And you share your opinion, you share your thoughts, and some people might have faces and body reaction because your emotions all over your body, right?
Yeah.
And if you take that personally and feel that, oh my God, maybe my point's shit or whatever, right? Then I'm the one who's losing out. We never know what's going on inside the head of that person. It could be that they never thought of this before, and they're annoyed with themselves.
Yes.
Or it could be that this is a point that they don't have any answer to, and they feel small at that moment. It could be anything, but it is about themselves.
So letting go of responsibility that we generally feel for
Other people's emotion.
Yeah.
It's none of my business.
Yeah.
That's a like a slogan I tell myself when I'm like seeing clear signs of someone's emotion, like, and it's on the negative side.
Yeah.
And I take a step back and say, it's none of my business. If it's supposed to be my business, they're gonna tell me. If they don't have the guts to tell me, again, that's their problem.
Yeah.
And if it surfaces again later, then I will deal with it. But right now, right this moment, it's not my business.
Yeah. And I think that's a very good point, because that's something that you can clearly define. And within that, what I tend to do is have different circles of people. Because there's certain people who maybe I will let it be my business a little bit more if it's a close family member. If people need the space, if they're adults, even as children, need the space to deal with their stuff. But I'm more likely to allow myself to feel it a little bit more if it's one of my loved ones than if it was somebody in the office. So maybe having circles of, okay, those people, it's definitely nothing to do with me. And so I get, okay, I can see that's one of my people. but it's still not my stuff.
Hmm.
And just sort of keeping that distance.
Yes, and one thing that I want to add is a good point that you're sharing, and in that point is, even if we make it my business a little bit, right?
Mm-hmm.
Take the space to heal from the shock of receiving that emotion. Don't immediately go and address it, because I'm charged with emotion, and that person is probably charged with emotion. So taking the time away to kind of like heal from that shock of the emotion is very important as well. And I think it's even more important in spousal relationship or partnership, right? Because we're like, I want to fix it now a lot of the time, right? But because I'm not healed by the reaction that I was not expecting, I go charged with sometimes anger, disappointment, or a lot of things. And so when that happens, accusation immediately surface out of it, right?
Yeah.
So taking time to heal from the reaction that I was not expecting.
Yeah.
It's really important. Yeah.
I generally have a rule of 3, which means whatever's going on, whatever I'm feeling, whether I'm feeling ill or upset or angry, is just giving it 3. And that could be 3 minutes if it's acute. It could be 3 seconds if it's really acute, but at least counting to 3. It could be 3 minutes. It could be 3 hours. If you're annoyed with something, giving somebody or giving myself, as you say, 3 hours. Or 3 days if it's a bigger thing and you're still upset about it, giving 3 days space to see, because as you said, this energy, I imagine even if you're not highly sensitive, that energy is still in you somewhere, I believe. And sometimes we just need time to process stuff. So 3 seconds, 3 minutes, 3 days, just to process something before making any big decisions.
Yes, that's a very good technique, but I also want to add in this to whoever is listening, is that the 3 days does not mean you avoid it. You do have to come back.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you shelve it somewhere, it remains there and it starts to rot and affect other things.
Very good clarification. 3 days before you do something about it.
Yes.
So that then you can address it without the charge of the energy that came with it, and then have a conversation about it. Yeah. But hopefully not 3 years, because that would be too long.
Yes. I mean, the person will probably say, I don't remember that.
And in the meantime, you've held it for too long. I mean, I think 3 weeks, 3 days is generally my sweet spot of, after that, it needs to be talked about before it
starts rotting you, right?
Yes,
yeah, from
exactly. Yeah.
I love this conversation. Thank you for inviting me.
So yeah, it's been an absolute pleasure talking to you today. That seems like a natural place to call it to the end for now, but I hope, and I'm very sure, we're going to be speaking again in the not too distant future. And that's it for English Talk for this episode. Thank you so much for joining us, for listening in. I do hope you've enjoyed it. If you have, please do find that rating button, give us a rating, and I look forward to speaking to you again very soon. Goodbye for now.